Welcome, Ari Bliss, to the Dish with Dina podcast. What a pleasure it is to have you on here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are one of the kind strangers on the internet who, I guess, saw my post about having people on here and you reached out and signed up. And now I'm learning about you for the first time, as our audience is too. So I would love for you just to kind of kick off with a small bit of information about who you are right now, what you're doing right now, and then we'll eventually get to all of the details of the conversation as we progress.
Of course. Well, I am a professional ballerina. I grew up dancing with the School of American Ballet, performing with New York City Ballet. And then I kind of added in mental health and writing along with my pre-med psychology degree. And I kind of started incorporating the art of mindfulness and also podcasting with ballet. So I really love the merge and the synergy of mental health and the art of dance. I think it really helped me kind of connect my own purpose and mission to the forefront to be able to offer kids, teens, and adults the space for dance, whether it is in studio in person or in a virtual setting, and also give them that same opportunity to connect with their mind and mental space because sometimes it's hard for dancers to kind of have access to mental health support. So I thought that was a really great integrational aspect.
We haven't had anybody on the podcast who I don't think that's been involved as you have as far as like a professional career in dance, but we have had some people talking about athletic performance and competitive athletes. So can you walk us through a little bit about that too? Because I know it's quite, I believe it's quite the rigorous regimen that you have to go through, and there might be also some competitive aspects to it as well. And then maybe you can also share with us too how food, whether it's to sustain you, maintain you, provide you with the energy that you need, how that also plays a role as well between, what you're doing to practice for your craft and how you're trying to manage your own energies as well.
Yes, 100%. Especially the men who lift women with partnering, they have to keep their muscles and strength, in high gear all the time. And that's why they have strength training. And they even have dietitian classes, I think, for nutrition. It's super crucial to kind of maintain muscles. So I know a lot of guys would talk about their protein intake and eggs and like how much they have to actually incorporate into their daily lifestyle habits. And it's so interesting. Actually, I'm working on a new guidebook that's all about like pre-post performance food. So I thought that's really a great alignment, I think, because like for dancers, having that awareness of what they should eat before performance and then after performance really helps, I think, when it comes to like preparing their muscles to perform and then also to wind the muscles down. It's really crucial. So, like, I personally love having a snack before something that's like, I typically have like an apple and peanut butter or an apple and almond butter. It's like, it feels really filling, but not too heavy. And I think misconception about dancers is that they don't eat too much, but actually I feel like they even eat more than the typical person because they have to refuel and they have to rebuild. So hydration is always number one. I think all dancers carry at least one or two water bottles with them in class because the more we sweat, even when we start class and we go into like the middle of the bar, we're doing like combinations where it's like jeté, so your feet come out and in. We're working right side, left side, and the more we start sweating, we just start drinking water even in class. So I think hydration is super important. And some dancers learn the hard way where if they forget to have like some drink with them, they actually cannot really dance well because they're suffering. They have to hydrate. So yeah, hydration is super, super important. And also I think listening to your body cues is also really important because sometimes we want to kind of like be cool and think like we don't have to eat so much, we're dancers, we want to look thin, but then your body is actually asking for specific, for more quantities, and it has to obviously be good quality too. But listening to your body also plays a big role, I think. In the beginning, when we're kids, we don't really listen to our bodies. We don't connect with our cues. We just want to like be a good student. We want to present ourselves good. We want to perform great. And then when we get older, I think it comes more naturally to slow down and listen to your body and connect with those frequencies asking you to feed you.
I appreciate you saying that. A lot of times in our past conversations, sometimes it's even the opposite. Sometimes people are so regimented when they're coming up on their younger years, like they're being influenced by their peer groups or what they see in magazines. And of course, now we can even, discuss the influences on social media too. And then over the course of time, they kind of forget how to connect with their appetite or hunger or knowing what is or is not appropriate for them to eat as far as what their body requires. So I really appreciate that insight and what you're talking about too. So walk us through a little bit also about the mindset, because I know you have the podcast and of course the name of your website as well, like what you go under is growth, grace, and gratitude. And as I was preparing for today, I was writing things down around that because I know that we have some themes that come up a lot of times in these episodes and in our guests that navigate around that structure of what is growth? How are we developing ourselves both spiritually, physically, mentally? So what do those terms mean to you? Why did you choose to kind of use that as your name?
I think that's what came to me first. It's kind of felt like I was just channeling stuff and it just came to me and I was like, oh, this sounds so cool. It's like GGG and it's like that's cool too. But more importantly, I think the aspect of the process starts with growth. It's like you can't really fill in the gaps of grace and gratitude until you're aware of your growth. And that means different things. I think depending on where we are in our journeys, we experience growth sometimes through lessons, through trauma, through pain. And we become aware of like, what is this teaching me? What is the purpose of that? And growth sometimes takes us in brand new directions where we haven't anticipated going. And I think the most important aspect of growth means integrating your past versions of yourself into newer versions that speak to truths. And this is like moral truths, collective truths that you feel inspired to reconnect to that helps fuel your passions for being a good person, being well-rounded, having a mission that makes you feel fulfilled in a way. And I think once you have the growth happening, you start to have grace for your past self. It's like you're now shifting and you're becoming aware of those past versions and you're becoming a better version of yourself. You're able to have grace and also forgive parts of your past self and other people as well, because I think we can't move forward fully into our really most authentic self until we have access to those access points where we kind of see people hurt us in the past or we hurt others or ourselves in the past. And we have to have, I think, grace and find, in a way, like redemption and kind of go through that neutrality phase. I think once we go through all of that trauma and integration, we're able to have gratitude. It's like the journey of being grateful for what you go through is difficult because we're revengeful. We seek out, that energy of we want to be valued, validated. And sometimes when we experience different negative things, we feel that lack of self-worth. So I think the whole journey is figuring out your self-worth through the process and being grateful, which is hard sometimes.
A few of the things that you were saying that really resonated with me and that I can see myself also implementing. So part of what I do as a registered dietitian, I'm working with people who are dealing with a variety of different things, whether they're just looking to learn new habits that they can implement into a busy life, or if they're recently diagnosed with a condition that now they have to figure out how do I manage that. But ultimately, a lot of the conversation comes around being patient and having compassion for yourself as you're navigating this new path or whatever journey you're taking. And so the things that I was writing down about integrating that past self and that new self and that future self as well, of kind of being okay with all of the versions that exist within you and also being grateful for, even if they weren't positive, any of the experiences you've had that led you up to who you are now are part of the fabric of what makes you you. And like you said, kind of that authentic self. And so putting that into perspective of how we can capture those experiences and learn from them, hopefully grow from them as well. Like be able to say, I've forgiven myself, or I've forgiven others, or I'm allowing myself to have compassion and grace. Again, as you said too, I think that alleviates the judgment aspect of it. I feel a lot of times with, especially in the health and wellness space, but really it could be anywhere. It could be even in the professional corporate settings. We're comparing ourselves to others. Why isn't my journey going as fast as that person? Or how come I'm not as successful as that person? And I think just to kind of get really in tune to the individual of who you are and being grateful for where you're at in this particular point in time, I think is very important. So thank you for sharing that. I really, like I said, I think
Sure.
that very much resonated with me. Yeah. In your lines of work, so what you're currently doing right now, you're balancing quite a few different things. You are an author, you are a dancer, you have a background in the mental health space as well. So can you share with us a little bit about what maybe a typical or current week in the life of you is? How are you managing all of these different parts and responsibilities of what makes you you?
I love having my routine. I think that's one of the most important parts of staying sane and being happy and healthy mentally and physically. So I normally have, if I have like podcasts, I usually just have them on my calendar. So they're always kind of there and I'm aware of that. And usually they're in the morning or in the evening. So I have that on my schedule. And then we also have usually dance class is also every day, whether it is in person. We have a lot of virtual students that sometimes, if there's different time zones, we have students who are coming in the afternoon and evenings. Oftentimes, that's how it kind of is laid out. That's normally how the schedule is, and I usually just work around that when it comes to going to the gym or connecting with my friends. Usually, me and my friends meet up at the gym in like a Pilates class or yoga class. So that's always fun because I can relax, rejuvenate, and then have that connection with friendship. I feel like it's so great to connect with friends, and I think we really have to prioritize that connection, whether you have a partnership or not. I think friendship is such a beautiful thing, but I think sometimes we forget that we actually grow in sisterhood, in brotherhood, in that connection, and it's so beautiful because we're healing so many different ancestral traumas, I think. Because, like you mentioned before, like the comparison thing, and we have competition with each other. There's so many toxic traits we can pick up, and what better way than to heal, together. You're able to communicate, talk about your insecurities in a safe space, and then work together, whether you are working out or maybe some friends like to work on a project or do something together. I think it's super fun. So yeah, my schedule is pretty laid out, and I don't have to work too hard to kind of navigate myself around that. And I think also tips for anybody to kind of lay out their schedule. It's also to see how you work well. Like, do you work well better in the mornings, afternoons, or evenings? Like, where do you feel most energized? And maybe take that part of the day and fill up your schedule. So then other times you're able to kind of like reset yourself. I think so often we like to go, 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 go. And we don't take a minute to be like, when am I going to have time to rest? Like, when do I have that availability for myself to focus on me? So I think as important as it is to set your schedule, make sure you're also setting your schedule up so you have a chance to relax.
So important. One of the words I wrote down was productivity, like the topic around the systems that we use in order to keep ourselves organized, not necessarily always having to be productive, but sometimes there is productivity even in, like you said, replenishing your energy or allowing yourself to rest, which also in any kind of movement field, that's, very important too, that you don't want to always be doing things that could potentially put yourself in injury's way, or if you're healing from something that you allow yourself to heal, and that goes for mind, body, etc. Are there any in the very different channels that you're working in, are there any particular topics or trends that you're starting to see more often than not that you'd like to speak on? Like anybody sharing feedback with you or they're struggling with something that you also see that feel like common themes in your space?
Yes, there's a
Yeah.
lot of themes about like the body image, and now there's so many kind of avenues are opening up to invite people of all backgrounds to the dance space. I think there's more conversation going on about that. for example, like I'm opening up the space for dancers and non-dancers to be able to dance. And I think a lot of people are also kind of tuning into that awareness, like, oh yeah, like why is dance so limited? Because yes, it is a skill, it is a talent, it is something that's about perfectionism, and there are rules kind of to be the perfect, right, shape or size, and have that technique and ability to dance professionally. But why not have that space wider to invite everybody? Because I feel like the gift of dance is being able to move your body, and having that ability is such a beautiful gift. And I feel like everybody who wants to try it should try it and should be in a dance class. So I think that's a really huge conversation, and that started from people realizing the fact that everybody comes in different shapes and sizes, and why should they, not partake in this beautiful artistry, in this beautiful experience of expression? So I think that's a really big trend, and I think it's opening up the floor to more people being able to access dance. And I think that's what I like to do. I'm opening up the space for different socioeconomic backgrounds. We're trying to kind of connect with different after school programs. So all kids can can see that, oh wow, like I can dance, I can try this, and it's a beautiful way to connect more people to dance.
Yes, that accessibility factor where in our world with the healthcare space, we're also considering things like what are known as the social determinants of health. And so when we say things to people like, oh, follow this particular recommendation or use this guideline for your particular disease state, and we don't realize sometimes people might not have a working kitchen, or they might not have access to a doctor, or they might work, three different jobs or work a night shift, and it's very hard for them to take off time to go see a specialist and doing things. And I think the new generation of healthcare providers are really trying to grow attuned to that. And also, as you mentioned too, kind of like the weight and body stigma that comes with it as well. We're trying to really understand more about the habits and the root causes of particular issues, and not so much focus on what somebody looks like, whether or not they are able to be responsible for those outcomes, especially when external factors that are beyond their control come into play. So I very much appreciate that insight there. Thank you so much. Being that you have dance as at the forefront, is just like with physical activity of any kind, is that also something that helps alleviate stress for you, or do you do other things to manage anything that might be kind of getting you caught up in maybe either neglecting or forgetting about self-care in other ways?
Yes, great question. I think for the most part, dance does do that for me. It creates such a beautiful meditation space for me, because I think, especially when you add in the elements of music, dance music with ballet, it's classical, it's orchestra, it's the vibrational healing tone, I think, where we connect with our mind and body. And yeah, it's super, super healing. And as long as you're not kind of pushing yourself too hard. But when that comes into play, you have to actually stop dancing, because you're becoming too obsessed or too addicted to that. And I think that's also important to kind of pay attention to. And that's when I will stop dancing, and I will normally I will journal, because I think journaling is such a great alternative when you're physically really active, but then there comes a point where you have to kind of shift gears and then activate the mindfulness aspect within yourself, and you can't really do that if you're constantly physically in movement. So I really love journaling, and I have to kind of like prep myself to be like, okay, just journal. Even if I'm not in the mood, I have to make myself become in the mood sometimes, because it's hard to slow yourself down and to become present and to become, yeah, like mindful of your feelings and emotions. And sometimes it's a challenge because you want to just go, go, go. So, yeah, I always try to journal at least once every few days to see how I am, how I'm feeling, how I'm doing. And then I normally will also write affirmations out. We also have an affirmation ebook for our dance students, and it's actually for everybody, but it's dance inspired. So whatever I learned in dance as a kind of way to have that grace and discipline and artistry, I'm kind of incorporating affirmations for everyday life. So it's like whether you are going through something, there's always an affirmation to kind of help support that mood shift, to help with building up your mood. We have a lot of affirmations even to help connect you to nature, to earth, to go take a walk. The simplicity of that, I think it starts from the most simplest things, but sometimes we forget. Or when we are going through mental health stuff, we completely lose touch of, reality. So we have to be reminded of those simple things that give us access to grounding, to spiritual rejuvenation, friendship, outlets.
I often say sometimes even if you're not comfortable with journaling or having anything that prompts you, you can just do a brain dump. Like, what is it that has been on your mind? And also be cognizant of the language that we use. So there is a theory that, your body believes whatever you're saying to it. So if you're talking negatively about yourself or if you're really angry about something, it's okay to kind of honor that as far as an emotion is concerned or to get it out of your headspace. But then you could also do those manifestations about I am and I'm worthy and I'm lovely and I'm going to be happy and I have success and I'm so grateful, etc. And then you can actually feel your body change vibration, change energy in that sense too of why would you believe something that is not nice if you could also say something that's nice and your body's going to believe that too? Why not just move forward with that? So I know also on, I think your website, you have some blog posts and some prompts there as well. So if anybody wanted to check that out and get inspired by what you have to share, we'll make sure that we link to that in this episode so people check it out. Let me get your thoughts on sleep because, you're juggling a lot of things and we're very ambitious people, right? People who like to do a wide variety of things. How does sleep, bedtime routines, quantity and quality, how does that play a role in your overall healthful habits as well?
Sleep, yes, so crucial. That's where the body completely resets and rejuvenates. And I think if you can get to sleep earlier, which is totally difficult sometimes, especially if you're working late, but if you can take a nap during any time of the day if you are working late, that helps too. By the way, if you can go into your office and just like take a nap for like 5 minutes, sometimes it really, really helps. So that's what I started doing, especially when I have like later nights of either podcasts or different speeches or different dances, whether we are performing or anything like that. I always try to take a nap during the day for 5 minutes. And if you can go to bed early, I mean, I think that's the best thing you can do. And then when you're able to go to bed early, you kind of your body wakes up earlier with the sunrise or with kind of like naturally wakes up. Because oftentimes we have the alarm clock to kind of interfere with our natural circadian rhythm. That's also hard, and it's hard on our bodies. So that's why when you're going to sleep a little bit earlier and you're going to wake up earlier, you'll feel more rested and not rushed because you'll be starting the day with your circadian rhythm.
I want to ask you too about the future. Where do you see things going? Do you feel like you're always going to have a hand in different things, the things that you're doing right now? Do you feel like you might start honing in on one particular path or channel in the next 2, 5, 10, however many years, if you plan that far out?
I think I'm always open to shifts and expansion. So I think maybe writing more, maybe doing more speeches, whether it's about the art of dance, the art of mindfulness with dance for students, for kids, to be able to expand dance with different environments, with different spaces. We might do more performances with festivals and stuff like that. So I think more so just expanding dance and talking about the value of dance that really helps, I think, kids, teens, and even adults to access a part of their self and their soul, which really just helps to help themselves shine more and feel more joyful in everyday life.
Oh, that's so lovely. At the time of this recording in New York City, we have at Bryant Park, we have every Thursday and Friday, I think it is, there's the picnic performances and they're all free. So people can just walk up there. They even give you
Amazing.
blankets. You can sit down on the field and you can watch everything from classical concerts to operas to dance performances as well. So even if you are an audience watching this or listening to this episode right now and you don't feel like you have it in your body to move, or you might have some mobility issues that prevent you from certain limitations or whatever, you could still enjoy watching others perform and get kind of in that zone of the fluidity and how people interpret the music or whatever the song or whatever the style of their movement is. And I feel kind of getting lost in that sometimes too helps me relax as well. Just like you said, also listening to music, like any of that energy, whether it's, thrash metal or classical music, any of that energy kind of like puts you in that headspace, in that zone, and lets you kind of just take away and get away from everything that is our normal everyday life that can be a little bit challenging and overwhelming. I want to talk about some of the business parts of things that we're doing right now too. So talk to me how you utilize the internet space. I know you have a YouTube channel. I know you do a lot of things on your website. I know you have the podcast. What are you creating for yourself as far as social media, both negative and positive things that you're noticing of how you're maybe utilizing that to promote yourself, to get the message out, to market what your mission and your message is?
I love the technology space. If you're using it, for good, you're not obsessed with it, you're doing it kind of productively in a way that helps people have access. So we post our kind of like backstage stuff, or whether we're in rehearsal or we have a class, like a private class, we're kind of taking snippets from there and showing people, this is how we handle our classes, this is the kind of steps we do, this is what we work on. I also post a few point shoe classes, or how to sew your point shoes, how to put them on, different tips and tricks about performing, or variations, different things that we're learning in class. So people can kind of get a feel of dance. And if you want to, participate in dance, these are the things you're going to be learning and you're going to be working on. So we always have a free trial class. So we also try to incorporate that into our YouTube post to mention, if this is totally new for you, you have no idea what this is about, like come try like a free trial class and to see how it vibes with you. I think it's great to offer that to people who don't have experience. They don't want to kind of give all of their money in something they're not sure of. So, we have that as well. And I think we're defining our target audience, kids, teens, adults, really anybody who wants to dance. So that's being known. And then we're also I think we're building a strong brand online by incorporating mindfulness. So I think normally when it comes to ballet and dance, there's not a lot of people who are talking about the mindfulness aspect. So I think that's like been a crucial role in talking about bullying, mental health, mindfulness, things to calm the mind down, to support the mind during life, whether you're a dancer or not. So I think that's been the main parts.
Yes, I love kind of that juxtaposition of the technicality and also the mindfulness too. Just like we were saying before with your background, also you have like the science background, but also the creative arts background too. But there's a crossover in that as well of the mindset that comes into it. And I know one of the things that you tend to promote too is being able to share, have people share their authentic self, their authentic happiness, their authentic success. And so I want to get an idea of how are you defining the term success for yourself these days?
I love that. I think success changes as we grow and evolve, because like when we were younger, like when we're riding a bike, we feel so much success because we're finally able to let go of those training wheels and we're able to kind of balance. And I think even when it is with dance, you feel success when you're able to perfect that, those fortes on stage, whether it's like 24, 36 fortes on stage, that's a huge accomplishment and you feel like a superstar doing that. And I think that comes into the peak performance. So it's like that zen, that flow, I think that's where you feel the most success, because your mind, body, soul feel one, like feel as one flowing through anything we're doing, that we feel oneness. I think that's where success manifests itself, because we're feeling truly embodied by what we're doing, and we feel support from the universe and from our peers and the audience. And I think as much as success is based on achieving things, it's also rooted in like morality and how clear are you on your own value and your own self-worth. And are you people pleasing, or are you kind of sure of your own authenticity as you're riding through the world? So I think the biggest success we can accomplish is having a clarity within ourselves, and also just being kind to people. We have to work on being kind to ourselves for sure, and having that kindness spread out into the world and leave a mark as best as we can.
This is very profound and very much speaking my language. That need to have alignment, right? To be able to practice what we preach and also to reflect upon or project upon ourselves and others of how we would like to be treated and how we would like to improve and, just be gentle and graceful, I think, with our language and non-judgmental, as I was saying before. Sometimes it's a little easier said than done, as we
Yes,
said,
yes.
and practice, even I think for me, even saying like practice makes perfect isn't necessarily true. I think practice makes progress towards something. Like we're always going to be hopefully wanting to improve on ourselves and see how we can better our lives. And I had an episode with a person named Lisa Bame. I'll actually tag that in this episode too, where she talked about this 1% approach, where it's don't try to overwhelm yourself too much. And I think this also goes along the lines of being patient with ourselves too when it comes to setting goals or seeing how we might be comparing ourselves with others, of just that 1% incremental shift from day to day. So on days that you're not feeling the greatest, or on days that you might feel like it's quite overwhelming, or on days that you feel like I've been doing this forever and I don't see anything come out of it, of just kind of looking back and really reflecting and taking an audit of what you have accomplished. I think that's very big too, to see how far you've come, and then seeing what is that tiny like 1% incremental shift that you can make. And by the end of the year, that's 365% of something differently. I don't know if I'm doing my percent math correctly, but you get where I'm saying there. uh Ari, can you share with us, is there anything else that we haven't talked about? Any questions that I didn't ask that you think you want to provide our audience to? Any final kind of words of wisdom or information that we didn't cover?
I think just piggybacking off what you just said, it's such a great reminder to actually have grace for where you've been and everything that you've gone through. I think that's also such a great thing. We should not beat ourselves up for our past. Like the process of success and the process of working through failure, which is part of success, we shouldn't diminish how beautiful failure is also, because people are afraid to even fail. So that fear, that we have to go through that fear continuously during our failures and even during our successes, that shift. Sometimes we achieve success in one area of our lives, and then after a few months or years, it becomes stagnant again. So it's like these constant shifts we have to actively participate in, really test our strength and test our ability to keep growing, to keep evolving, and to keep learning about who we are, what we want, what we want to produce, provide, assist, how we want to cater to people around us. I think it's all a learning process. So I think, yes, to have that grace for your past and to have gratitude for your future, it's such a beautiful way to just live your life every day.
Oh my gosh, that made me feel so calm and validated in the things that I've
Oh,
been trying to focus on. So thank you. Thank you for sharing those wonderful words of wisdom. So
oh,
this brings me to my final two questions at the end of every podcast episode. I ask the guests a two-part question, which is kind of sort of pun intended, which is what is on your plate today? So as soon as we are done chatting with each other, what is the first or next thing that you're going to be working on, whether it's professionally or personally? And then what is the next thing that you're going to be eating? What kind of meal are you having for yourself next?
I love this. So I know I have some salmon and vegetables for my lunch, so I'm really excited for that. I love fish. It's delicious. It's like so nice to have that. And actually, we're doing some home renovation, so we have to get out like a big couch. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but we're trying to organize that right now, which is really interesting and fun. I'm like trying to think about like how do we get all of our furniture in our space, and now we have to kind of like shift that. So that's been great. That's been awesome. And next is we have actually, since we're having vacation, we're having a lot of extra classes right before vacation, like one after the other. So I'm preparing for like a last minute schedule for our students, and I'm going to give them like a brand new guidebook to support them during the summer vacation. So I'm so excited to connect with our students because I feel like once summer starts, they're so excited to be kind of free from school, free from learning, but also they'll be able to move their body, connect to their body, and be more inspired to be mindful and to also not forget their affirmations.
Exactly. That reflection of who makes them the special people that they are. Well, Ari, this has been so wonderful. What a joy it's been getting to
Oh,
know
thank
you
you.
and share all of your insights with our audience. I'm so, so grateful to you. Speaking of gratitude, I'm so grateful to have you on here. So thank you so much for being on with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you too. It was so beautiful.